The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was enormous. It stretched so wide that clouds could form near its ceiling. Thousands of seats rose in circles, one above another like a giant bowl turned upside down. Each seat held a delegate from a different world. Some had scales, some had fur, some had neither, and their bodies were made of things that humans could not easily describe. In the center of this massive room stood a floating platform. On it, a creature named Prepared to Speak belonged to the species. He was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like wet stone. His eyes were large and yellow, and when he blinked, the motion was sideways rather than up and down. Today was an important day. The Council would announce the official ranking of the galaxy's top predator species. This list was updated every 50 cycles, and species across thousands of worlds waited eagerly to hear where they stood. Lieutenant sat in the back row of the human section. There were only 3 humans present. Earth had joined the galactic community just 11 years ago, and most species still did not know much about the small blue planet at the edge of the spiral arm. Was 32 years old. She had short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She wore the simple gray uniform of Earth's Space Division. No medals, no decorations, just clean fabric and practical boots. She sat with her arms crossed, watching the ceremony below with a calm face. Beside her sat Private Lee. He was younger, maybe 25, with a round face and nervous energy. He kept shifting in his seat and looking around at all the strange aliens. "This place is huge," whispered. "How many species are here?" "Over 800, replied without looking at him. "Keep your voice down." On her other side sat Sergeant Minu. He was older than both of them, with gray hair at his temples and a scar that ran from his left ear to his jaw. He said nothing. He simply watched, like a man who had learned long ago that watching was more useful than talking. Down on the floating platform, raised his thin arms. The hall grew quiet. "Welcome, honored delegates," said. His voice was smooth and carried easily through the chamber. Tiny translation devices in everyone's ears converted his words into their own languages. "Today, we celebrate the hunters, the predators, the species who rose to the top of their worlds through strength, speed, and deadly skill." A cheer went up from several sections of the hall. Notice that the loudest cheers came from the left side, where a group of large, muscular creatures sat. They had 4 arms each and thick plates of natural armor covering their bodies. These were and they were very proud of their reputation as warriors. Continued. "The ranking you will see today is based on careful study. We have measured hunting ability, kill efficiency, physical weapons, and instinct. Only the deadliest species earn a place on this list." A massive holographic display appeared above the platform. It showed the number 50, glowing in blue light. "We begin with position 50, announced, the of the system." A section of the crowd made excited noises. There were insect-like beings with sharp claws and fast reflexes. Their delegates stood and bowed as the crowd acknowledged them. Leaned toward, "When do you think they'll call humans?" Shrugged, "I don't know if they will." "What do you mean?" "I mean I've never seen humans mentioned in any galactic predator discussion. We're new here. They might not have enough data on us yet." The ceremony continued. Species after species was called. They cheered loudly when they were announced at position 12. A snake-like species called the earned position 8, and their section of the crowd hissed with pleasure. When the top 5 were revealed, the hall became very quiet. These were the most feared hunters in the known galaxy. Position 5 went to the beings made of living crystal who could cut through metal with their bodies. Position 4 went to the pack hunters with 6 legs and jaws that could crush starship hulls. Position 3 went to the shadow creatures that could become invisible and strike without warning. Position 2 went to the ancient beings with psychic abilities who could stop a heart with a thought. And Position 1, the top predator in the galaxy, went to They were fast, smart, and absolutely ruthless. Their home world had 2 suns, and they had evolved to hunt in both blazing heat and freezing darkness. When their name was called, they did not cheer. They simply stood in silence, accepting their position as if it was natural. Watched all of this with the same calm expression, but inside she was thinking. 50 species, that was the full list, and not once had Earth been mentioned. She looked at the celebrating aliens around her. They were pounding their 4 fists together. They were coiling and uncoiling with joy. Even the species at the bottom of the list seemed happy just to be included. But Earth, nothing. Looked disappointed. I guess we didn't make the list. It seems that way, said. Minu spoke for the first time. His voice was low and rough. Or they don't know what to do with us. Glanced at him. The old sergeant's eyes were fixed on the platform below, where was preparing to close the ceremony. What do you mean? She asked. Minu didn't answer right away. He just kept watching with those experienced eyes that had seen too many battles on too many worlds. I mean, he said slowly, that sometimes the most dangerous things are the ones you can't easily put on a list. Down on the platform, raised his arms again. This concludes the official ranking of the galaxy's top predator species. We thank all delegates for attending. May your hunts be successful, and may your prey be worthy. The crowd began to rise. The ceremony was over. But did not move. She sat very still, her arms still crossed, her eyes still fixed on the platform below. Lieutenant asked, "Aren't we leaving?" "Not yet," said, "I have a question." Blinked, a question for who? Stood up. She straightened her uniform and began walking down the long steps toward the central platform. Other delegates looked at her with curiosity. A human, moving toward the speaker. This was unusual. Minu watched her go. A small smile appeared on his face. "Here we go," he muttered. Reached the floor of the great hall. Was speaking with several other officials preparing to leave. He noticed the human approaching and paused, his yellow eyes blinking sideways. "Yes," said, "can I help you, delegate from Earth, was it?" "Earth," confirmed. "I have a question about the list." Tilted his head. "The list is complete. It was compiled by our best scientists over many cycles." "I understand," said, "but I noticed something missing." The other officials nearby stopped their conversations. More delegates were watching now, curious about this small human who dared to question the great ranking. "Missing?" sounded almost offended. "I assure you, no worthy predator species was overlooked." Nodded slowly. "Then where is Earth?" The question hung in the air. Sideways blink came faster now, a sign of confusion among his species. "Earth," he repeated, "your world was not, that is to say." He looked at the other officials. They looked back at him. An uncomfortable silence spread through the nearby crowd. Waited. She was very good at waiting. Finally cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should discuss this in a more private setting." "No," said calmly. "Here is fine. I would like to know why Earth was not included on the predator list." The hall was almost completely silent now. 800 species watched the small human woman standing alone on the great floor, facing the tall gray official who suddenly looked very uncomfortable. Opened his mouth to speak, closed it, and opened it again. The answer, when it came, would change everything. The silence in the great hall was heavy. It pressed down on everyone like a thick blanket. 800 species watched as the human woman stood alone on the floor, waiting for an answer. The tall gray official was clearly uncomfortable. His yellow eyes blinked sideways again and again, and his thin fingers twitched at his sides. He looked at the other officials nearby, hoping one of them would speak. None of them did. "Perhaps," said slowly, "there has been some confusion." "Perhaps," agreed. Her voice was calm and steady. "That's why I'm asking for clarification." Up in the human section, was gripping the armrests of his seat so hard his knuckles had turned white. "What is she doing?" he whispered. She can't just demand answers from the council. Minyu, the old sergeant, leaned back in his seat. That small smile was still on his face. She's not demanding anything. She's just asking a question. There's no rule against questions. But everyone is staring. Let them stare. Down on the floor had gathered himself. He straightened his long body and tried to look dignified. Earth, he began, speaking loudly enough for the whole hall to hear, was not included on the Predator ranking for a simple reason. Your world does not fit the criteria. A murmur went through the crowd. Many delegates nodded. Of course. The human world was simply too weak, too primitive. Their species had only discovered space travel a few generations ago. How could they compete with species that had hunted across stars for thousands of cycles? But did not look satisfied. What criteria specifically? Waved one hand. The criteria for a predator world, a world that produces hunters. Your planet Earth is not classified as a predator world. Then what is it classified as? Another silence fell. This one was different. Some of the delegates who had been nodding now stopped. A few of them leaned forward in their seats. They knew something. They knew what classification Earth held in the galactic records. Hesitated. He looked genuinely reluctant to answer. I'm not sure this is the right place to discuss planetary classifications, he said. You announced 50 planetary classifications just now, pointed out. Each predator species comes from a predator world. You classified all of them publicly. Why should Earth be different? She had a point and knew it. The crowd knew it too. The murmuring grew louder. From somewhere in the section, a deep voice called out, "Tell her, what is the human world classified as?" More voices joined in. They hissed their agreement. Even the silent, the top-ranked predators seemed interested. One of them stood taller in their section, their sharp eyes fixed on the scene below. Raised his hands for silence. "Very well," he said. "If you insist on knowing, I will tell you." He turned to face directly. His yellow eyes met her dark ones. Earth, he said, is not classified as a predator world. It is classified as a Category 7. The effect was immediate. Gasps echoed through the hall. Several species made sounds of shock in their own languages. A few delegates actually stood up and backed away from the human section, as if being too close to humans had suddenly become dangerous. Looked around in confusion. What does that mean? Minyu's smile had faded. He was watching the other species carefully, studying their reactions. It means they're afraid, he said quietly. On the floor had not moved. Her expression had not changed. She simply stood there, looking at as if waiting for more information. Category 7, she repeated. Could you explain what that means? Seemed surprised that she didn't know. But then again, humans were new to the galactic community. They might not have learned about the classification system yet. The galactic database classifies all habitable worlds on a scale, explained. His voice was now serious, with none of the pride it had held earlier. Category 1 worlds are the most gentle, perfect temperatures, calm weather, safe wildlife. These are paradise worlds where species evolve slowly and peacefully. He paused. Category 2 and 3 worlds have some challenges, seasonal changes, moderate predators, nothing too dangerous. And higher categories, asked. Category 4 and 5 worlds have significant threats, harsh climates, dangerous animals, disease. Species from these worlds tend to be stronger than average. His voice dropped lower. Category 6 worlds are rare. They are hostile to most forms of life. Extreme temperatures, toxic atmospheres, violent geological activity. Species that survive Category 6 worlds are considered highly dangerous. The hall was completely silent now. Every delegate was listening. And Category 7, prompted, made a sound that might have been a sigh. Category 7 is the highest classification. These are worlds where everything is trying to kill everything else. The gravity is crushing. The weather is violent. The plants are poisonous. The animals are deadly. Diseases spread constantly and mutate rapidly. The world itself seems designed to destroy any life that dares to exist on it. He looked at with something new in his eyes. It might have been pity, or it might have been fear. In the entire known galaxy, continued, there are only 12 Category 7 worlds. Most of them are empty. The conditions were too harsh for intelligent life to ever develop. But Earth isn't empty, said. No, agreed. Earth is the only Category 7 world with a surviving intelligent species. Your species, Lieutenant. Humans evolved on it and somehow you survived. The murmuring in the crowd was growing louder again. Delegates were turning to each other, speaking in rapid voices. Many of them were looking at the three humans in the back row with new expressions. Felt his face grow hot. He wasn't sure if the attention was good or bad. Beside him, Minyu sat very still, like a statue carved from stone. On the floor, considered this information. Her face was thoughtful. So, she said slowly, you're saying Earth was too dangerous to be classified as a predator world. Exactly, said. Predator worlds produce hunters, produce survivors. The two are not the same. I see, nodded, but I have another question. Look tired, yes. You said predator worlds produce hunters, species that evolve to hunt prey, to chase and kill. That is correct. But I continued, produces species that evolve to survive everything. Not just predators, but extreme heat, extreme cold, poison, disease, starvation, natural disasters. Nodded slowly. Yes, that is why are so rare. Most species cannot survive long enough to evolve intelligence. Smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible. But somehow it made several of the nearby delegates take a step back. So let me make sure I understand, she said. Your predator species evolved to be good at hunting. That's their specialty. That's what makes them dangerous. Correct. But humans evolved on a world where being good at one thing wasn't enough. We had to be good at everything. Hunting, running, fighting, hiding, enduring pain, recovering from injury, resisting disease, adapting to any environment. Said nothing. His yellow eyes were very wide now. Your top predators, continued, gesturing toward the section, are specialists. They're the best hunters in the galaxy, but hunters have one strategy: chase and kill. She took a step closer too. The tall actually leaned back. Humans aren't specialists, said. We're generalists. We can hunt when we need to. We can fight when we need to. We can run for hours without stopping. We can survive wounds that would kill other species. We can eat almost anything. We can live in deserts, in frozen wastelands, in jungles, in mountains, underwater, and in space. She spread her hands. You didn't put us on your predator list because we don't fit the category. We're not hunters. We're something else entirely. The hall was so quiet that everyone could hear Swallow nervously. Something else, he repeated weakly. And what would that be? Smile grew slightly wider. That's what I'm hoping you'll figure out. She turned and began walking back toward the human section. The crowd parted before her, delegates moving aside to let her pass. None of them wanted to stand too close to the survivor. As she climbed the steps, grabbed her arm. Lieutenant, what was that? What did you just do? Sat down calmly. I asked a question and got an answer. But everyone is looking at us differently now. They're scared. Minyu laughed quietly. It was a rough, dry sound. Good, he said. Let them be scared, better than being ignored. Up in the section, the top-ranked predators were speaking among themselves for the first time. Their voices were too quiet to hear, but their body language was clear. They kept glancing toward the human section with sharp, calculating eyes. On the platform below was speaking urgently with the other officials. Several of them had pulled out data tablets and were scrolling through information rapidly. The ceremony was supposed to be over, but no one was leaving. Somewhere in the crowd, a delegate from a species didn't recognize stood up and shouted, If the humans are from A, why aren't they on the predator list? Shouldn't they be above all of us? The question sparked immediate debate. Some species argued that we're different from predators and couldn't be compared. Others insisted that survival ability was the true measure of danger. A few demanded that the ranking be recalculated immediately. Sat quietly through all of this, her arms crossed again, her expression calm. Was breathing fast. This is chaos, we've caused chaos. No, Minyu corrected him. We've caused curiosity, there's a difference. Down on the platform, raised his hands again. It took several minutes for the crowd to quiet down. Honored delegates, he called out. This is an unexpected development. The Council will need time to review the classification of Earth and its species. We will reconvene tomorrow to discuss this matter further. The announcement caused more murmuring, but eventually delegates began to leave. They moved slowly, many of them taking long looks at the human section as they passed. When the hall was finally empty except for the three humans, let out a long breath. What happens now? He asked. Stood up and stretched. Now, she said, we wait. They'll want to know more about us. They'll have questions. And then looked out at the empty hall, at the floating platform where the rankings had been displayed. Her eyes were thoughtful. Then, she said, we show them what a really produces. Minyu grunted in approval. He rose slowly, his old joints popping. About time, he said. I was getting tired of being invisible. Together, the three humans left the great hall. Behind them, the holographic display still showed the ranking of the galaxy's top 50 predators. Tomorrow, that list would need to be rewritten. The next morning came quickly. Had barely slept. She had spent most of the night reading through files about Earth's classification in the Galactic database. The information was disturbing and fascinating at the same time. According to the records, Earth had been discovered by galactic scouts approximately 200 cycles ago. When they first scanned the planet, they had assumed it was uninhabited. No civilization, they thought, could survive such conditions. The planet had crushing gravity by galactic standards. Its atmosphere was a volatile mix of oxygen and nitrogen, both of which were corrosive to many species. The surface was covered in extreme environments, frozen poles, burning deserts, oceans filled with massive predators, jungles thick with poisonous plants and venomous creatures. And the diseases. Earth was home to millions of different bacteria, viruses, and parasites. They evolved constantly, mutating to overcome any defense. To most galactic species, simply breathing Earth's air would mean death within days. The scouts had marked Earth as hostile and moved on. It wasn't until human radio signals reached galactic ears that anyone realized intelligent life had somehow evolved there. Now sat in a smaller conference room, waiting for the council representatives to arrive. Minyu sat beside her, silent as always, paced nervously by the door. They're late, said. Do you think that's a bad sign? They're not late, replied. We're early, sit down. Before could respond, the door opened. Entered first, followed by 4 other officials. Recognized only one of them, a delegate named Tor. He was smaller than most of his species but still towered over the humans. His 4 arms were folded across his armored chest. Behind them came someone unexpected. The top-ranked predator moved with fluid grace. Its body was long and sleek, covered in scales that shifted color slightly as it walked. Its eyes were bright gold, and they fixed on immediately with sharp intelligence. Lieutenant said formally, "Thank you for meeting with us." "Of course," replied. "I assume you have questions." "Many questions," gestured to the seats around the conference table. "Please let us sit." They arranged themselves around the table. The chose to remain standing, positioning itself in a corner where it could see everyone. Noted this with interest. A predator's instinct, always watching for threats. Placed a data tablet on the table. After yesterday's revelation, the Council has been reviewing all available information about Earth. I must admit, the findings are troubling. Troubling how? Asked. Tortha spoke up. His voice was deep and rough. Your planet is a nightmare. We have soldiers who study hostile environments. Even they were shocked by Earth's conditions. Could you be more specific? Tor pulled up a holographic display. It showed Earth rotating slowly in space. Let's start with gravity, he said. Earth's gravity is 0.98 of galactic standard. That might not sound like much, but it's in the top 15% of all inhabited worlds. Every human who grows up on Earth is constantly lifting their own weight against this force. Your muscles are naturally dense. Your bones are naturally thick. He zoomed in on the planet. Then there's your atmosphere. Oxygen comprises 21% of your air. Oxygen is a reactive element. It causes rapid deterioration of organic tissue in most species. You not only breathe it, you require it to survive. Oxygen is essential for our biology, confirmed. Essential and deadly, Tor said. If any of us breathed your air for extended periods, our lungs would burn from the inside. But to you, it's just air. The in the corner made a soft sound. Its golden eyes were still fixed on. Took over. Beyond the physical conditions, there's the matter of Earth's wildlife. We have over 8 million distinct species on your planet. Of these, roughly 2 million are considered dangerous to human life. Predators, parasites, poisonous creatures, venomous insects. Spoke without thinking. 2 million, that seems high. It's actually a conservative estimate, said. Many Earth species have never been fully documented. Your oceans alone contain hundreds of thousands of creatures that have never been studied. Minyu finally spoke. His rough voice cut through the discussion. You're scared of fish. Tor bristled. We're not scared, we're concerned. Your world has creatures that could kill a warrior, great white sharks, crocodiles, box jellyfish, and those are just the ones we know about. Those are normal animals, Minyu said. We swim with sharks. We wrestle crocodiles. Children learn to avoid jellyfish at the beach. The officials exchanged glances. The concept of children casually avoiding lethal predators seemed to disturb them. Leaned forward. I think what my colleagues are trying to say is that humans have adapted to these conditions. What seems dangerous to you is simply ordinary to us. Nodded slowly. That's precisely what concerns us. You have normalized deadly environments. You treat conditions as baseline. We had no choice, said simply. It was adapt or die. Our ancestors adapted. The moved. It took a step closer to the table, its scales shifting from dark blue to pale silver. When it spoke, its voice was surprisingly soft, almost musical. I have a question, it said. Everyone turned to look at it, even seemed surprised. They did not often speak in meetings. Of course, said, ask. The golden eyes studied her carefully. My species evolved as apex predators. We hunt, we kill, we consume. This is our nature. We have done this for millions of cycles. It paused. But in all that time, we have only hunted prey, creatures weaker than ourselves. We have never had to fear being hunted in return. The room was very quiet. Humans, they continued, were not apex predators on your world. You had creatures above you on the food chain, predators that hunted you. Many of them agreed. Lions, tigers, bears, wolves. Our ancestors lived in constant fear of being eaten. And yet you survived. We did more than survive. We became the dominant species on our planet. Every predator that once hunted us is now either extinct, endangered, or living only where we allow them to live. There was silent for a moment. Its scales shifted to a deeper color. How? It asked. You have no claws, no fangs, no armor, no venom. By all measurements, you should have been prey. Minyu laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. We have something better than claws. And what is that? The old sergeant tapped his forehead. This, we think, we plan, we remember. When a lion killed one of our ancestors, we remembered which lion it was. We tracked it, we studied it, we learned its patterns, and then we killed it. He leaned forward. Every predator on Earth made the same mistake. They thought of us as prey, easy targets. They didn't realize that every time they attacked us, we were learning, getting better, getting smarter. Tor shifted uncomfortably. Learning while being hunted, that's not how predator-prey relationships work. On most worlds, maybe, said, but Earth isn't most worlds. On Earth, the prey fought back, and won. She pulled up a new image on the holographic display. It showed ancient cave paintings, stick figures of humans surrounding larger animals. These are some of the oldest human artworks, she explained. Tens of thousands of years old. They show hunting scenes, groups of humans working together to bring down creatures much larger and stronger than themselves. She changed the image. Now it showed more detailed paintings, humans with spears, humans with traps, humans with fire. We invented tools, said. We invented weapons, we invented strategies. A single human against a lion will lose, but 10 humans with spears, 20 humans with a plan. The lion never had a chance. Looked disturbed. You're describing organized violence against superior predators. We're describing survival, corrected. Every adaptation you see in humans, the intelligence, the endurance, the cooperation, the tool use, all of it evolved because we needed it to not die. The spoke again. There is something else, something I've been researching since yesterday. It gestured, and a new holographic image appeared. It showed a human figure running, and beside it, various animals running. Humans are not the fastest runners on your planet, the said. Many creatures can outrun you in a short chase. That's true, agreed. But I found something interesting. Over long distances, hours or even days, humans can outrun almost anything on Earth. Nodded, persistence hunting. Our ancestors used it. Explain this, the demanded. Took over. Most predators on Earth rely on short bursts of speed. They chase prey, catch it quickly, or give up. Their bodies overheat if they run too long. She gestured at her own body. Humans are different, we sweat. Our bodies can release heat through our skin, which means we can run for hours without overheating. Our ancestors would pick a target and simply follow it. Walking, jogging, running, never stopping, for hours, sometimes for days. She smiled grimly. Eventually, the prey would collapse from exhaustion and overheating, and then our ancestors would walk up to it and kill it with simple weapons. The room was silent. Tor's voice was quiet. You hunted by refusing to stop. Yes. That's terrifying. Shrugged, it was effective. The scales had turned completely pale. Among its species, this indicated deep thought or concern. I have hunted many creatures, it said slowly. I have never been hunted. I do not know what it feels like to be chased by something that will not stop, that will follow you for hours, for days, that will track you across any terrain, through any weather, until you simply cannot run anymore. It looked at with new eyes. Now I understand why your world is classified as it said. It's not just the animals or the climate or the diseases. It's you. Humans are what make Earth truly dangerous. Met its golden gaze without flinching. We are products of our environment. Earth made us what we are. Cleared his throat. This is exactly what the Council needs to understand. Humans are not typical predators. You do not fit our categories. No, agreed, we don't. So what do we do about the rankings? Looked around the table at the gathered aliens. The powerful, the clever, the deadly, all of them were looking at her now with something that might have been respect, or fear, or both. That's your decision, she said, but I have a suggestion. Please, said, we're listening. Stood up, stop thinking of us as predators. We're not competing for that title. We never were. She walked to the window. Outside, the stars sparkled in the endless black of space. "Think of us as survivors," she said. "We come from a world that tried to kill us every single day, and we're still here. That's not because we're the best hunters, it's because we refuse to die." She turned back to face them. "And if that scares you," she said quietly, "it should." 3 days passed. Word had spread throughout the galactic community about the species called humans. Delegates who had ignored the small human section before were now watching them constantly. Some watched with curiosity. Some watched with fear. A few watched with calculation, as if measuring a potential threat. Noticed all of it. She also noticed that the council had called an emergency session to discuss what to do about Earth's classification. The Great Hall was packed again. More species had come this time. News had traveled fast, and everyone wanted to see for themselves. Sat in the same seat as before, arms crossed, face calm. Beside her had stopped being nervous. 3 days of being stared at by aliens had numbed him to it. Minyu sat on her other side, silent and watchful as always. On the central platform stood with a larger group of officials than before. The representative was there too, standing apart from the others with its scales shifting restlessly. "We have called this session," announced, "to address the matter of Earth and its classification in relation to the galactic predator rankings." A murmur went through the crowd. Many species leaned forward. "Over the past 3 days," continued, "the Council has reviewed extensive data about Earth and humanity. We have consulted with experts in planetary classification, evolutionary biology, and threat assessment." He paused. The hall was completely silent. "The findings are significant. Earth is indeed a Category 7. Humanity did indeed evolve under conditions that would be lethal to most galactic species, and humans have developed capabilities that are unusual among known intelligent species." Tor, the representative, stepped forward. "With the Council's permission, I would like to share some of these findings." Nodded. Tor activated the holographic display. Images appeared above the platform, visible to everyone in the hall. First, physical capabilities. A chart appeared showing comparative data. Humans are not the strongest species by raw measure, but they possess what experts call functional strength. Their muscles are dense and efficient. An average human can lift objects weighing half their body weight repeatedly without significant fatigue. He changed the display. Second, endurance. This is where humans become exceptional. Testing shows that healthy humans can engage in physical activity for 12 to 15 hours continuously. Some trained humans can continue for 20 hours or more. Gasps came from several sections of the crowd. "For comparison," Tor added, "warriors known for our stamina can maintain peak activity for approximately 6 hours. After that, we require rest. Humans can simply keep going." The display changed again. Third, recovery. Humans heal from injuries that would permanently disable other species. Broken bones fuse back together, torn muscles regenerate, damaged skin regrows. Even some organ damage can heal over time. He pulled up medical images. "We documented a case of a human soldier who lost part of his liver to combat injury. 18 months later, the organ had to nearly full size. This regenerative ability is almost unique among intelligent species." Whispered too, "I didn't know our healing was special." "It's normal to us," whispered back. "We never thought about it." Tor was not finished. Fourth, environmental tolerance. Humans can survive in temperature ranges from -40 to +50 degrees in your measurement system. They can function in humidity from nearly 0 to nearly 100%. They can adapt to altitudes from sea level to several kilometers high. He looked at the crowd. Most species have a narrow comfort zone. Humans don't have a comfort zone. They have a survival range, and that range covers almost any condition. The representative stepped forward. Its golden eyes scanned the crowd as it spoke. I would like to add a psychological component to this assessment. The crowd stirred. The rarely spoke at length. My analysts have studied human history, the said. What we found was disturbing. A new image appeared. It showed human warfare throughout history, ancient battles, medieval sieges, modern conflicts. Humans fight, the said simply. They fight constantly. They fight each other, they fight nature, they fight obstacles. This is not unusual among species. Many species have conflict in their history. It paused. What is unusual is the scale. Humans have engaged in organized conflicts involving millions of individuals. They have developed weapons capable of destroying entire cities. They have built machines specifically designed to kill large numbers of their own kind as efficiently as possible. The crowd was very quiet now. And yet, the continued, they have also built great civilizations, art, science, music, philosophy. The same species that creates weapons of mass destruction also creates works of profound beauty. It turned to look at the human section. This contradiction is confusing to us. How can a species be capable of both such destruction and such creation? Stood up, the crowd watched as she walked down the steps toward the platform. No one tried to stop her. "May I respond?" she asked. Nodded. Stepped onto the platform and faced the crowd. Thousands of alien eyes watched her. She felt very small, but she stood straight and spoke clearly. The representative is right. Humans are capable of terrible violence. We have hurt each other in ways that are hard to understand. She paused, but he asked how we can be capable of both destruction and creation. The answer is simple. They come from the same place. She gestured at the images of warfare still displayed. Every human carries inside them the potential for violence. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us. Fighting back became part of our nature. When we face a threat, something inside us responds. We become aggressive, dangerous, capable of extreme action. She changed the display. Now it showed images of human achievement, monuments, inventions, scientific discoveries. But that same drive, that refusal to accept defeat, also pushes us to create. When we face a problem, we don't give up. We keep trying. We invent solutions. We build things that didn't exist before. She looked at the crowd. Violence and creation are both expressions of the same fundamental trait. We don't accept the world as it is. We change it, sometimes through force, sometimes through ingenuity, but always through action. Minyu had stood up in his seat. He raised his voice so the crowd could hear him. "Lieutenant is too polite to say this clearly, so I will." Every eye turned to the old soldier. Humans are dangerous because we don't know how to quit. When something tries to kill us, we kill it back. When something blocks our path, we go through it, over it, or around it. When someone tells us something is impossible, we figure out how to do it anyway. He walked down the steps toward the platform, his boots echoing in the silent hall. "I've fought in 3 wars," he continued. "I've seen humans pushed to their limits and beyond. I've seen soldiers continue fighting with injuries that should have killed them. I've seen civilians survive disasters that should have wiped them out." He reached the platform and stood beside. "You want to know what makes humans special? It's not our strength, it's not our speed, it's not even our intelligence." He tapped his chest over his heart. "It's this, the part of us that refuses to die, that keeps going when everything says we should stop, that fights back when fighting seems hopeless." He looked at the representative directly. "You called your species the galaxy's top predators. Maybe you are, but predators hunt prey, they attack the weak." His voice hardened. "Humans aren't prey, we look like prey, we seem like prey, but inside we're something else entirely." He smiled, and the expression made several nearby delegates step back. Attack a human and they don't run, they don't hide, they fight. And even if you kill them, you'd better make sure they're dead, because if they survive, they'll come back, stronger, smarter, angrier, and they'll bring friends. The hall was absolutely silent. Spoke again, her voice calm after Minu's intensity. My colleague is passionate, but he's right. Humans evolved not just to survive, but to overcome. Every challenge we've faced as a species has made us stronger. She looked at, you asked what to do about the rankings. Here's my suggestion. She raised her hand and pointed at the holographic display showing the predator list. Don't add us to that list. We're not predators. We're not competing for territory or hunting for sport. She lowered her hand. But don't ignore us either. We're out here now. We've joined the galactic community, and we're not going anywhere. She turned to face the crowd fully. Earth sent 3 representatives to this council. 3 humans, that's all. And yet look at this room. Hundreds of species watching us, debating about us, afraid of us. She spread her hands. We're not your enemies. We don't want war with anyone. We want to trade, we want to learn, we want to explore. Her voice grew firmer. But if anyone threatens our world or our people, know this. Every human you see is a descendant of survivors. Every one of us carries inside us the legacy of millions of years of fighting to stay alive. She looked at your species hunts prey. My species hunts anything that threatens us. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, hostile environments, even death itself. She paused. And we usually win. The silence stretched on for a long moment. Then slowly the began to move. It walked across the platform toward. Its scales shifted through colors, pale silver to deep blue to something almost black. It stopped directly in front of her. They were nearly the same height. Gold eyes met dark eyes. I believe you, the said quietly. It turned to face the crowd. I am. My species has held the top position in the predator rankings for 6,000 cycles. We have never conceded that position to anyone. It paused. I am not conceding it now, but I am acknowledging something. It looked back at. Humans are not predators. They are something we have never encountered before. And for the first time in my long life, I am uncertain what that means for the future of this galaxy. It raised one long arm. I recommend that the Council create a new classification. Not predator, not prey, something else entirely. His voice was shaky. And what would you call this classification? The scales settled into a deep, steady color. Survivors, it said. Call them survivors and treat them accordingly. The vote happened 1 week later. Representatives from over 800 species gathered in the Great Hall for what would become one of the most significant moments in galactic history. The atmosphere was tense. Everyone knew that something important was about to change. Sat in her usual seat, watching the proceedings with calm eyes. She had spent the past week in countless meetings, answering questions, providing data, explaining human history and culture. She was tired, but she did not let it show. Beside her had grown into his role. He no longer fidgeted or looked nervous. He sat straight, meeting alien gazes without flinching. His time among the galactic species had changed him. Minu was Minu, silent, watchful, ready. On the central platform, stood with the official council tablet in his hands. The device contained the proposed amendment to the galactic ranking system. If approved, it would create an entirely new classification for species like humans. Honored delegates, announced, his voice carrying through the massive hall. We are here to vote on Proposal 773, the amendment regarding Class 7 species and their classification in the galactic records. He activated the holographic display. The text of the proposal appeared for everyone to see. The proposal is as follows. First, species originating from Category 7 shall not be included in the standard predator rankings. Their evolutionary background and survival capabilities place them outside the normal classification parameters. A murmur went through the crowd, but it was subdued. Everyone had expected this part. Second, continued, A new classification category shall be created. This category shall be designated Apex Survivors. It shall be placed above all predator rankings in the Galactic Threat Assessment Database. The murmur grew louder. Placing any category above the predator rankings was unprecedented. Third, species classified as Apex Survivors shall be treated with appropriate diplomatic consideration. Their worlds shall not be approached for colonization or resource extraction without explicit consent. Their populations shall not be targeted for conflict without full council authorization. Lowered the tablet. The floor is now open for final statements before the vote. Several species requested to speak. The first was a representative, not Tor but an older warrior with deep scars across his armored face. I support this proposal, they said. When I first heard about the humans, I thought they were weak, small bodies, no natural weapons. How could such creatures be dangerous? He turned to look at the human section. Then I watched the footage from their history, their wars, their survival stories, their refusal to accept defeat even when facing certain death. He shook his head slowly. I have fought many battles, I have killed many enemies, but I have never seen the kind of determination that humans display. They are not warriors in the way understand warriors. They are something harder to define and harder to defeat. He sat down. The next speaker was her snake-like body coiling around the speaking platform. My species voted against this proposal in the preliminary sessions, she said. We believed the humans were being given special treatment unfairly. She paused, her forked tongue flickering. We have changed our position. Our analysts spent the past week studying human disease resistance. What we found was remarkable. Humans carry hundreds of thousands of disease organisms in their bodies at all times. Bacteria, viruses, parasites. Most of these organisms would kill any other species within days. She gestured toward the human section. But humans have evolved to live with these organisms. They carry death inside their bodies and it does not kill them. Some of it even helps them survive. Her voice took on a tone of respect. Any species that can turn deadly parasites into survival tools deserves a classification of their own. More species spoke. Some expressed concerns, some expressed support. A few remained undecided. Finally, the representative stepped forward. The hall grew very quiet. The top predator's opinion carried enormous weight. I have thought much about this proposal, they said. Its scales were calm, steady colors, indicating careful consideration. My species has held the apex predator position for thousands of cycles. We earned that position through strength, speed, and deadly efficiency. It looked at the human section. When I first saw the humans, I saw prey, soft flesh, slow movements, dull senses. Everything about them seemed weak. Its scales shifted slightly darker. Then I learned about their world, their history, their nature, and I realized I was wrong. It turned to face the full assembly. Predators hunt the weak. We identify targets that we can catch and kill. This is how we survive. This is how we have always survived. It paused. Humans do not hunt the weak. They hunt whatever threatens them, large or small, strong or weak, fast or slow. If something threatens their survival, they find a way to eliminate it. Its golden eyes swept across the crowd. On their world, humans were not the apex predators. They were surrounded by creatures stronger, faster, and deadlier than themselves. And yet, they dominated their planet, not through superior physical abilities, but through something else, something we predators do not truly understand. It raised one long arm. I will vote yes on this proposal, not because I believe humans are better than but because I believe they are different from us in fundamental ways, ways that make traditional rankings meaningless. The return to its position, the hall was silent. Cleared his throat. If there are no further statements, we will proceed to the vote. All delegates, please register your positions. Lights began appearing across the hall as species cast their votes: green for yes, red for no, yellow for abstain. Watched the lights spread like a wave across the massive chamber. Her heart beat steadily, but she felt the weight of the moment. One by one, the sections lit up. The voted yes, their section glowing green. The joined them. The green lights spreading across the hall. Some species voted no. A few abstained. But as the wave of lights reached the far end of the hall, the result was clear. His voice rang out. The vote is complete. Proposal 773 has passed with 78% approval. A sound went through the hall, not quite cheering, but something close to it. Delegates turned to look at the human section with new expressions. Felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Minyu looking at her with something almost like a smile. "Well done, Lieutenant," he said quietly. "Well done." Was grinning widely. "We did it, we actually did it." Stood up. She straightened her uniform and began walking down the steps toward the central platform. Delegates watched her pass. This time, they did not move away. Instead, many of them nodded in acknowledgement. She reached the platform and stood beside. The tall looked at her with his yellow eyes. "Lieutenant," he said formally, "on behalf of the Galactic Council, I officially recognize humanity as the first species to be classified as apex survivors." He extended one thin hand, a gesture of respect among his species. Took his hand. "Thank you, Representative. Humanity is honored to be part of the galactic community." Sideways blink seemed almost gentle now. "I believe the galaxy is honored to have you, though I suspect many species will take time to adjust to the idea." Smiled slightly. "That's fair. We took time to adjust to the idea of not being alone in the universe." She turned to face the assembly. Thousands of alien eyes watched her. "I want to say something to all of you," she said. Her voice was clear and carried through the hall. "Humanity comes from a dangerous world. We evolved to survive threats that most of you cannot imagine. This has made us tough, strong, sometimes aggressive." She paused. "But we also evolved something else. We evolved the ability to cooperate, to form bonds with other species, to see friends in strangers." She gestured at the crowd. "You are strange to us. Your bodies, your cultures, your ways of thinking, all of it is different from what we know." Her voice softened. "But we do not see you as threats. We see you as potential friends, potential partners, potential family." She looked around the hall slowly. "Earth is humans are apex survivors. These are facts, but they do not define who we want to be. We want to be explorers, discoverers, bridge builders." She raised her head. "We came from a world that tried to kill us. We answered by learning to work together, to protect each other, to never give up. Those same traits that helped us survive on Earth can help us thrive among the stars." She extended her hand toward the crowd, palm open. "We offer friendship to any species willing to take it. We offer protection to any species that needs it. And we offer a promise." Her eyes grew hard. "Any threat to the galactic community is a threat to Earth. Any enemy of peace is an enemy of humanity. We survived our together. We will survive whatever challenges the universe brings together." She lowered her hand. "That is the promise of the apex survivors. That is the promise of humanity." The silence stretched for a long moment. Then from somewhere in the section, a sound began. Heavy hands pounding against armored chests. A salute of respect. It spread. Other species joined in with their own gestures of honor. The coiled and raised their heads. The clicked their golden eyes in a pattern that indicated acknowledgement. Species after species responded. Stood on the platform, watching the wave of respect wash over her. She felt small. She felt proud. She felt the weight of representing her entire species. Beside her, Minyu had climbed onto the platform. He stood at her shoulder, solid and strong. Joined them a moment later, his young face bright with emotion. 3 humans on a platform in the center of a galactic assembly, 3 representatives of a species, 3 apex survivors. The ranking display still floated above them. The 50 predator species were listed in order, with the at the top. But now, above that entire list, a new category glowed in bright letters. Apex survivors. Below it, a single entry. Humanity, Earth, Category 7 DATHWRLD. Looked at the display. She thought about her home, the blue planet at the edge of the spiral arm, the place where her ancestors had fought and died and survived against impossible odds. They had not known they were creating something special. They had simply been trying to live another day. But their struggle, their determination, their refusal to give up, had produced a species that could stand among the stars. She smiled. Not bad for a bunch of survivors. The ceremony continued for hours. Delegates approached the humans to offer congratulations, to ask questions, to simply stand near these strange creatures from the... When it was finally over, when the great hall had emptied and the lights had dimmed, the 3 humans walked together toward the exit. Was still buzzing with energy. This is incredible. The entire galaxy knows about us now. We're officially recognized as something special. Minyu grunted. Special is one word for it. What do you mean? The old sergeant looked at him with experienced eyes. Being recognized as dangerous has consequences. Some species will want to be our friends. Others will see us as threats. This isn't the end of anything. It's the beginning. Nodded. He's right. Today was important, but it's just the first step. Now we have to prove that humanity deserves the recognition we received. How do we do that? Looked out at the stars visible through the hall's great windows. Millions of points of light, each one potentially home to species she had never met. The same way we've always done it, she said. One day at a time, one challenge at a time together. She turned to her colleagues. We came from we survived everything our planet threw at us. Now we face a larger universe with larger challenges. She smiled. I like our odds. Together, the 3 humans walked out into the galaxy, ready to face whatever came next. Behind them, the ranking display continued to glow, showing humanity's new position in the galactic order. Apex survivors. Precisely.